Welcome back to Justice Insight Cam. We bring you unfiltered, real-world police interactions recorded straight from body cameras. Moving beyond the video, we analyze the facts, legal boundaries, and critical takeaways from each case. Let us explore the reality of justice.
Ma'am, you need to come with us. We have reason to believe you're undocumented.
I was born in Detroit. I'm a registered nurse. This is my hospital ID.
We'll sort that out at the facility. Hands behind your back.
You're arresting an American citizen in front of her workplace. This is illegal.
ICE agent Marcus Brennan believed he was carrying out a routine immigration enforcement action. Anonymous tip suspected undocumented worker hospital parking lot. In his mind, it was textbook procedure. He had run dozens of these operations, leaning on profiles and assumptions that had never been challenged. But when he approached the black woman in scrubs, walking to her car after a 12-hour shift, and slapped her in handcuffs without verifying her citizenship, he made a catastrophic mistake. The woman he cuffed was Kendra Williams, a 34-year-old emergency room nurse, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, a third-generation American citizen whose grandfather had served in Vietnam. And what Brennan didn't realize was that the entire arrest was captured on 4 separate body cameras worn by his team. Every illegal step documented in footage that would eventually cost the federal government $14.8 million. Before we continue, where are you watching from? If this is your first time here, please hit that subscribe button. Stories like these need to be shared, and your support helps us bring more truth to light. Brennan had been with IC for 6 years, working the Detroit field office with a track record that raised eyebrows among civil rights organizations. He had been named in 3 formal complaints alleging racial profiling, each one describing a pattern of targeting individuals based on appearance rather than evidence. His supervisors defended him as aggressive but effective, praising his arrest numbers without questioning his methods. He trusted his instincts, convinced years on the job had given him an eye for who belonged and who didn't. In reality, his instincts were biased, dressed up as experience, assumptions rooted in prejudice rather than law. The tip had come in that morning. Anonymous caller, heavy accent, claiming there were undocumented workers at Detroit Memorial Hospital working under stolen identities. No names, no specifics, just vague accusations that should have been investigated before any action was taken. Brennan didn't pause. He assembled a team of 4 agents, himself as lead, Agent Tyler Rodriguez, Agent Jennifer Chin, and Agent David Mitchell. All 4 were required to wear body cameras during field operations, a policy implemented 2 years earlier after multiple civil rights complaints. The cameras were designed to protect both agents and civilians, providing an objective record of every interaction. What none of them realized that morning was that those cameras would become the primary evidence in one of the largest civil rights settlements in IC history. His plan was simple: watch the exits during the morning shift change, look for anyone who fit the profile, and make contact. The team positioned themselves in the parking lot at 7 a.m., their body cameras activated and recording. The early morning sun cast long shadows across the pavement, the bright daylight ensuring perfect video quality. When Kendra walked through the automatic doors at 7:18 a.m., her dark skin, her tired expression, her scrubs bearing the faint stains of a long overnight shift, something in Brennan's mind clicked. He gestured to his team, and all 4 body cameras turned toward her, capturing her from multiple angles in the clear morning light as she walked across the parking lot, squinting slightly against the rising sun. Kendra had just finished one of the most exhausting shifts of her career. 3 trauma cases, 2 cardiac arrests, and a waiting room overflowing with patients throughout the night. Her feet ached, her back was sore, and all she wanted was to get home, take a shower, and sleep. She was fumbling with her keys, thinking about the leftover pasta in her refrigerator when she heard footsteps behind her. Multiple sets, quick and purposeful, she turned to see 4 agents approaching, their figures stark against the brightening sky, dressed in tactical gear with IC badges displayed prominently on their vests. The chest-mounted body cameras were visible, small lenses recording everything in crystal clear daylight. Her stomach dropped. "Excuse me, ma'am," Brennan called out, his voice carrying that particular tone of authority meant to intimidate. Rodriguez's body camera captured Brennan's approach from the side, every detail sharp in the morning light, while Chen's camera recorded Kendra's face, her expression shifting from confusion to fear, every micro-expression visible in the unforgiving brightness. Mitchell positioned himself slightly behind Kendra, his camera providing a rear angle of the entire interaction. The parking lot activity clearly visible as other hospital workers arrived for the day shift. "We need to speak with you." Kendra stopped, her hand gripping her keys so tightly her knuckles went white. Chen's camera captured the trembling in her fingers with perfect clarity. "Can I help you?" Brennan stepped closer, his eyes scanning her face, her scrubs, looking for signs of deception that existed only in his imagination. His body camera recorded his own perspective, the view steady in the excellent lighting. "We're with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. We've received information about undocumented workers at this hospital. Can you provide identification and proof of citizenship?" Kendra's heart raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. All 4 cameras captured her response from different angles, the morning sunlight illuminating every detail. "I'm an American citizen. I was born in Detroit. I work here as a nurse." She reached slowly for her purse, and Mitchell's camera zoomed in slightly, capturing her deliberate movements in sharp detail. She pulled out her hospital ID badge, holding it up so Brennan could see the laminated card gleaming in the sunlight. Rodriguez's camera captured the ID with perfect clarity. The photo, the name Kendra Williams, the title, Registered Nurse, Emergency Department, all visible and legible, impossible to miss in the bright morning light. "This is my employee ID. My driver's license is in my wallet." Brennan barely glanced at the ID. His body camera recorded his dismissive gesture, his eyes moving away from the identification almost immediately, his face clearly visible in the daylight. The other 3 cameras captured his body language from different angles, the way he crossed his arms, the tightening of his jaw, all perfectly illuminated by natural light. He had already decided she was undocumented. Everything else was just noise. "This could be forged," he said, his voice captured clearly on all 4 audio feeds. "We're going to need you to come with us for verification." Kendra's hands trembled, visible on both Chen and Rodriguez's cameras in the harsh morning light, but her voice remained steady, the audio picking up every word with crystal clarity. "Verification of what?" "I just showed you my hospital ID. My driver's license has my birth date and address." "What exactly are you accusing me of?" Brennan's jaw tightened, the muscles working beneath his skin captured in high definition on his own body camera, the sunlight revealing every detail of his expression. Resistance always irritated him, especially from people he believed had no right to resist. "Ma'am, you need to come with us. We have reason to believe you're undocumented. If you're telling the truth, this will be cleared up quickly." Rodriguez shifted uncomfortably, his camera angle wavering slightly. He could sense something was off about this stop, but he said nothing, unwilling to challenge Brennan's authority in the field. "Reason to believe?" Kendra's voice rose, frustration breaking through, captured on all 4 audio feeds simultaneously. "What reason? I showed you my ID. I told you I was born here. What more do you want?" Brennan stepped closer, invading her space. His camera recorded the view moving toward Kendra's face, while Mitchell's camera captured the aggressive approach from behind. Other hospital employees clearly visible in the background, beginning to take notice in the growing morning activity. "Ma'am, if you don't cooperate, we can do this the hard way. Your choice." The threat hung in the air, preserved on 4 separate recordings. Kendra looked around the parking lot, her head movement tracked by Chen's camera. The morning shift was arriving, cars pulling in steadily, and several co-workers were walking toward the hospital entrance. More people than would have been present at night. Some glanced over with concern, a few slowing their pace to watch the confrontation unfold in broad daylight. The hospital security cameras mounted on the light poles watched from a distance, but it was the body cameras, these 4 lenses inches away, that captured every nuance of the encounter. "I'm cooperating," Kendra said, forcing herself to breathe. Chen's camera captured the rise and fall of her chest, the visible effort to maintain composure in the bright sunlight. "But you're violating my rights. You have no warrant, no probable cause. Nothing but an assumption based on how I look." Brennan's face flushed, the color change clearly visible in the unforgiving daylight. His camera recorded his own hand moving toward his hip, a gesture of aggression. "Don't make this about race. This is about immigration law." "Then show me the evidence." Kendra shot back, her finger pointing toward Brennan, captured clearly on Rodriguez's camera. "Show me what gave you probable cause to stop me. Because right now it looks like you saw a black woman in a parking lot and decided she must be illegal. Should immigration enforcement agents be required to verify citizenship before making arrests? Comment below. This wasn't just a case of mistaken identity. This was racial profiling backed by federal authority, with consequences that would haunt everyone involved. The other 3 agents shifted uncomfortably, their camera angles wavering as they moved their weight from foot to foot. Rodriguez exchanged a glance with Chin captured on both their cameras, a silent acknowledgement that this was going wrong, but neither intervened. Brennan's authority was absolute in moments like these, and challenging him meant risking their own positions, possibly their careers. Mitchell's camera recorded him taking a half step back, as if distancing himself from what was about to happen. Brennan pulled out his handcuffs, the metallic click as he opened them, captured clearly on his body camera's audio. "Turn around, hands behind your back." Kendra's blood ran cold, her entire body stiffening, visible on all 4 cameras. "You're arresting me for what?" "Suspected immigration violation and failure to provide adequate documentation." The words were bureaucratic nonsense, legal-sounding phrases that masked the absence of any real justification. All 4 audio feeds captured the hollow ring of his justification. "This is insane," Kendra said, her voice shaking now, the tremor picked up by the sensitive microphones on all 4 body cameras. "I'm a nurse. I work here. I'm an American citizen. You can verify everything I've told you with one phone call." Chen's camera captured Kendra's face in the morning light, tears beginning to form in her eyes, but not yet falling, the sunlight reflecting off the moisture. "Well, sort that out at the facility," Brennan replied coldly, his camera recording his own hands as they gripped the handcuffs tighter. "Hands behind your back." Kendra hesitated, her body language screaming resistance even as her mind calculated the danger. Rodriguez's camera captured her looking around the parking lot, searching for help, for witnesses, for anyone who might intervene. There were more people now, the morning shift, arriving in force, more potential witnesses than there would have been late at night. Mitchell's camera recorded her hands clenching and unclenching at her sides, the internal struggle visible in every movement captured in perfect daylight clarity. She knew the statistics. She knew what happened to people, especially black people, who resisted federal agents. She turned slowly, placing her hands behind her back, and Brennan's camera recorded his own perspective as he stepped forward and snapped the cuffs around her wrists. The metallic click echoed on all 4 audio feeds. "These are too tight," Kendra said, her voice strained. Chen's camera captured her wrists in the bright morning light, the metal digging into her skin, already leaving red marks clearly visible. "They're fine," Brennan replied dismissively. His camera recorded him testing the cuffs with a sharp tug, Kendra's body jerking forward from the force. Rodriguez winced, the movement captured on Chen's camera, but he said nothing. The walk to the IC van felt surreal. All 4 body cameras recorded the journey from different angles in perfect daylight detail. Brennan's camera showed his view from behind Kendra, his hand on her shoulder, guiding her forward with more force than necessary. Chen's camera from the side captured Kendra's profile, her jaw set, her eyes straight ahead, refusing to look at the co-workers who had stopped to stare. Rodriguez's camera recorded the growing crowd of hospital staff, more visible now in the morning light, some pulling out their phones to record, others standing frozen in shock. Mitchell's camera, bringing up the rear, captured the full scene. 4 federal agents in tactical gear, escorting a handcuffed nurse across the parking lot of her own workplace in broad daylight. "Kendra!" a voice called out. All 4 cameras swiveled toward the sound. It was Dr. Sarah Mendes, one of the attending physicians Kendra worked with, just arriving for her shift. Mendes's face was a mask of confusion and horror, captured clearly on Rodriguez's camera in the morning sunlight. "What's happening?" "They're arresting me," Kendra called back, her voice breaking. Chen's camera recorded the tear that finally spilled down her cheek, glistening in the sunlight. "They think I'm undocumented. She's American," Mendez shouted, starting forward. Mitchell's camera recorded him stepping into her path, his hand raised. "Ma'am, step back. This is federal business. Federal business." Mendes' voice rose, captured on all 4 audio feeds. "She's one of our best nurses. She was born here. This is insane." "Ma'am, final warning," Mitchell said, his voice firm. His camera recorded Mendes stopping, her hands raised, her face flushed with anger and helplessness, all clearly visible in the daylight. Brennan's camera recorded him opening the back door of the van, a white vehicle with small windows and no handles on the inside. "Watch your head," he said, his hand pushing down on Kendra's head as he guided her into the seat. Rodriguez's camera, positioned outside the van, captured Kendra's face one more time before the door closed, her expression a mixture of fear, rage, and disbelief, illuminated by the morning sun. The van's interior had its own camera system, separate from the body cameras, but all 4 agents kept their cameras running. Brennan climbed into the driver's seat, his camera now facing forward toward the windshield, bright daylight streaming through. Rodriguez sat in the passenger seat, his camera angled back toward the cargo area where Kendra sat. Chin and Mitchell climbed into a second vehicle to follow. "You comfortable back there?" Brennan asked, his tone sarcastic. Rodriguez's camera captured Kendra in the back, natural light from the small windows illuminating her face, her hands still cuffed behind her, her body pressed against the metal seat. "No," she said quietly. "I'm not comfortable. I'm in handcuffs in the back of a van, despite being an American citizen who committed no crime." Rodriguez's camera recorded his own hand moving toward the radio, then stopping. He wanted to say something, wanted to question whether they were doing the right thing, but the words wouldn't come. Brennan's camera recorded the view through the windshield as they pulled out of the parking lot. The morning traffic already building. The dashboard display showed the time, 7:34 a.m. The trip to the IC detention facility lasted 40 minutes. All 4 body cameras remained active, capturing the journey from multiple perspectives. Brennan's camera recorded the road ahead, the morning commute, the route. Rodriguez's camera stayed trained on Kendra in the back, documenting her sitting in silence. her chest rising and falling with each controlled breath. Her face turned toward the small window, watching the city pass by in morning sunlight. When they arrived at the facility, Chen and Mitchell pulled in behind them. All 4 cameras captured the exterior of the building, a nondescript concrete structure with high fences and razor wire stark in the morning light. The agent's body cameras recorded every step of the intake process. Brennan's camera showed his perspective as he opened the van door and helped Kendra out, his grip on her arm firmer than necessary. Chen's camera captured Kendra's face as she stepped into the harsh fluorescent lighting of the facility's entrance, contrasting with the natural daylight outside, her eyes adjusting to the change. Mitchell's camera recorded the walk down the corridor, the echo of footsteps on linoleum, the heavy doors with small reinforced windows. At the intake desk, Rodriguez's camera captured the processing officer, a woman in her 50s with tired eyes and a nameplate reading Officer Davis. Brennan removed Kendra's handcuffs, the release captured on his body camera, revealing the deep red marks on her wrists, even more visible under the fluorescent lights. Chen's camera zoomed in on the marks, clear evidence of how tightly the cuffs had been applied. "Name," Davis said, her fingers poised over a keyboard. "Kendra Williams." All 4 cameras recorded her response. Date of birth, March 15, 1990. Place of birth, Detroit, Michigan. Davis's fingers paused. Her camera angle shifted slightly as she looked up. "You were born in Detroit?" "Yes." Kendra's voice was firm, captured clearly on all 4 audio feeds. "I'm an American citizen. I've told these agents repeatedly. They arrested me anyway." Davis looked at Brennan, her expression skeptical. Mitchell's camera captured the exchange between them, the unspoken question hanging in the air. "She could be lying," Brennan said, his camera recording his own hands, gesturing dismissively. "Could be using a stolen identity. We need to run a full background check." "I'm not lying," Kendra said, her voice rising. Rodriguez's camera captured her leaning forward, her frustration evident. "I'm a registered nurse at Detroit Memorial Hospital. I've worked there for 6 years. My nursing license number is RN471-93. Look it up. Call the hospital. Call the Michigan Board of Nursing. Everything will verify what I'm telling you." Davis's expression shifted, doubt creeping in. Chen's camera captured her typing on the keyboard, searching databases, her face illuminated by the monitor's glow. "What's your social security number?" Kendra recited it, the numbers captured on all 4 audio feeds. Davis typed, waited, then her eyes widened. Mitchell's camera recorded her expression changing from skepticism to concern to outright alarm. "She's in the system," Davis said slowly, her voice captured on all 4 cameras. "Born in Detroit, valid social security number issued in 1990, no immigration holds, no warrants, nothing." Brennan stepped closer to the monitor, his camera recording the screen, though the angle made the text difficult to read. "That doesn't prove anything. Run a deeper check." "I already did," Davis replied, her voice tight. Chen's camera captured her turning to face Brennan directly. "She's a licensed RN in Michigan. Active status, no disciplinary actions. She's been paying taxes at the same address for 6 years. She has a valid US passport that was renewed 18 months ago." The silence that followed was captured on all 4 cameras, the audio feeds picking up only the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of voices from other parts of the facility. Rodriguez was the first to speak, his voice uncertain. "So, she's telling the truth?" "Appears so," Davis said coldly. All 4 cameras captured her expression, a mixture of anger and disbelief as she stared at Brennan. "You arrested an American citizen." Brennan's face flushed red, the color change visible on Chen and Mitchell's cameras. "We had a tip," We had reasonable suspicion. Based on what? Davis demanded. Her question hung in the air, captured on 4 separate recordings, and Brennan had no answer. The silence stretched for 10 full seconds, every moment documented from multiple angles. I want my phone call, Kendra said, breaking the silence. All 4 cameras swiveled toward her. Now, Davis nodded, her expression softening. Of course. Mitchell, take her to the phone. Mitchell's camera recorded the walk down another corridor to a small room with a single phone on a metal desk. Chin followed, her camera providing a second angle. Kendra's hands were shaking as she dialed, the tremor visible on both cameras. Her mother answered on the second ring. Mum, Kendra's voice cracked, hours of composure finally shattering. I've been arrested. I arrested me. I'm at a detention facility. Both cameras captured the tears streaming down her face, now her body shaking with sobs. Her mother's scream was so loud it was picked up by both body camera microphones. What? Baby, what are you talking about? You're American. I know, Mom, I told them. I showed them my ID. They didn't care. They arrested me anyway. I need you to call a lawyer. Get someone down here, please. The desperation in her voice was palpable, captured in high-defin audio. Her mother was crying now, but her voice steadied, the strength of a parent taking over. I'm calling right now. Don't say anything else to them. Don't answer any more questions. We're going to get you out. Do you hear me? We're getting you out. I hear you, Kendra whispered. The call ended, and Chen's camera captured Kendra's hand replacing the receiver, moving in slow motion as if the simple action required all her remaining strength. Mitchell's camera recorded her wiping her face, trying to compose herself, her chest heaving with suppressed sobs. Outside, the wheels of justice were beginning to turn. Kendra's mother called her son Marcus, Kendra's younger brother, who worked as a paralegal at a civil rights firm. Marcus listened to the story with growing fury, then immediately called his boss, attorney Daniel Reeves. Reeves was a veteran civil rights lawyer with 20 years of experience and a reputation for taking on cases that other attorneys considered too difficult or too controversial. He listened to Marcus's recounting of events, asked 3 pointed questions, then said, I'm taking this case. Get me everything. Birth certificate, nursing license, employment records, passport, everything that proves she's a citizen. I'm heading to that facility now. While Reeves gathered documents and drove toward the detention center, all 4 IC agents remained at the facility, their body camera still recording. Brennan stood in the hallway, his camera capturing his view of the floor, his posture defensive. Rodriguez and Chin sat in the break room, their cameras recording their uncomfortable silence. Mitchell's camera showed him reviewing his own footage on a small monitor, watching the arrest play back, his expression growing more troubled with each replay. At 12:18 p.m., 5 hours after Kendra's arrest, Daniel Reeves arrived at the facility. His entrance was captured on the facility security cameras and on Rodriguez's body camera, as Rodriguez was called to the front desk. Reeves was a tall man in his 50s, with gray hair and sharp eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He carried a leather briefcase that he sat down on the intake desk with deliberate force. I'm Daniel Reeves, attorney for Kendra Williams, he announced, his voice carrying down the corridor. I'm here to secure her immediate release. Davis, still at the desk, looked relieved. I'll get the supervisor. The supervisor, a career IC administrator named Patricia Sanchez, arrived within minutes. All 4 agents were called to the front office, their body cameras capturing the meeting from multiple angles. Reeves opened his briefcase and began laying documents on the desk, one by one, each paper placed with precise deliberation. Kendra Williams was born in Detroit on March 15, 1990. Here's her birth certificate, certified copy with raised seal. Brennan's camera recorded his own hands clenching at his sides. She's a licensed registered nurse in the state of Michigan. Here's her license, active and current. Rodriguez's camera captured his own feet shuffling nervously. She's employed at Detroit Memorial Hospital and has been for 6 years. Here's her employment verification, her tax returns for the past 6 years, and a letter from the hospital administrator confirming her citizenship and employment status. Chen's camera recorded her own hand moving to cover her mouth. She has a valid U.S. passport. Here it is, issued by the U.S. Department of State, valid until 2028. Mitchell's camera captured the passport as Reeves held it up, the gold eagle emblem clearly visible. Reeves looked at each agent in turn, his gaze captured on all 4 cameras. "Now," he said, his voice quiet, but carrying the weight of absolute authority. "Explain to me how your agents determined she was undocumented." The silence was deafening, captured on all 4 audio feeds. Sanchez turned to Brennan, her expression captured on 3 cameras simultaneously. "Agent Brennan, what evidence did you have to make this arrest?" Brennan's camera recorded his own view of the floor as he struggled to answer. "We received a tip about undocumented workers at the hospital. She matched the description." "What description?" Reeves demanded, stepping closer. His face filled the frame of Brennan's body camera. The anonymous tip didn't include any names, any specific descriptions, any identifying information. "So tell me, Agent Brennan, what exactly did Ms. Williams match?" The answer hung unspoken in the air, obvious to everyone present and preserved on 4 separate recordings. She matched Brennan's racist assumptions about who looked undocumented. "She's black," Reeves said, flatly, stating what everyone was thinking. "That's the only description she matched. You saw a black woman in a parking lot and decided she must be illegal. That's called racial profiling, Agent Brennan, and it's illegal." Brennan's camera recorded his own hands trembling. Rodriguez's camera captured Brennan's face from the side, pale and sweating. Chen's camera recorded the entire room, the circle of people, the tension so thick it was almost visible. Sanchez's voice cut through the silence, tight with barely controlled fury. "Release her immediately." Kendra was brought out of the holding area at 12:47 p.m., fever and 1 to 2 hours after her arrest. All 4 body cameras captured her emergence, her scrubs wrinkled, her eyes red and swollen, her wrists bruised. Reeves moved toward her immediately, and Chen's camera recorded Kendra collapsing against him, her body shaking with sobs. "They had no right," she said, the words muffled against his shoulder, but still picked up by multiple microphones. "I told them. I showed them everything. They didn't care." "I know," Reeves said quietly, his hand on her back. Mitchell's camera captured the gesture, the comfort of human contact after hours of cold detention, and they're going to answer for it. Before leaving, Reeves turned to Sanchez. Rodriguez's camera captured the exchange. "I want copies of all body camera footage from this incident. All 4 agents, full recordings from the moment they activated their cameras until now." Sanchez nodded slowly. "That's your right under the Freedom of Information Act. We'll process the request." "I don't want it processed," Reeves replied, his voice hardening. "I want it preserved as evidence right now before anything has a chance to be lost or corrupted." His implication was clear, and Brennan's camera recorded his own sharp intake of breath. Sanchez understood immediately. "I'll secure the footage personally. You'll have copies within 48 hours. The footage was preserved that afternoon. All 4 body cameras, nearly 6 hours of recording from multiple angles, was copied to secure servers. The timestamps, the metadata, everything that would prove the footage was authentic and unaltered. The lawsuit was filed 3 weeks later. Kendra Williams versus United States Department of Homeland Security. Marcus Brennan, Tyler Rodriguez, Jennifer Chin, David Mitchell, and Patricia Sanchez. The charges were extensive: false arrest, illegal detention, violation of civil rights under the 4th and 14th Amendments, racial profiling, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and deprivation of rights under color of law. The evidence was unprecedented in its completeness. 4 body cameras, each providing a different angle of the same incident. Every word spoken was captured on multiple audio feeds. Every movement, every gesture, every moment of Kendra's fear and the agent's aggression was documented in high-definition video, much of it in perfect daylight clarity. Reeves had handled hundreds of civil rights cases, but he had never had evidence this comprehensive. In his opening statement, he told the jury, "You're not going to have to take anyone's word for what happened that morning. You're going to see it from 4 different perspectives in broad daylight with perfect video quality. You're going to hear every word, and when you do, you're going to understand that this wasn't a mistake. This was racial profiling, pure and simple, executed by federal agents who believed their badges made them untouchable. The federal government tried to settle early, $200,000 and a formal apology. Reeves refused. They came back with $500,000. Refused. $1 million. Refused. This isn't about money, Reeves told Kendra during one of their strategy sessions. This is about accountability, about making sure every IC agent in this country knows that they can't treat citizens like criminals based on the color of their skin. The case went to trial 16 months after Kendra's arrest. The courtroom was packed every day, media filling the back rows, civil rights advocates and community members lining up hours before the doors opened to secure a seat. The body camera footage was the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. On the trial's 3rd day, all 4 recordings were played simultaneously on 4 large screens positioned around the courtroom. The jury watched in absolute silence as the arrest unfolded from multiple perspectives. They saw Brennan's dismissive gesture when Kendra showed her hospital ID captured on his own camera in bright daylight. They saw Rodriguez's uncomfortable shifting visible on Chen's camera. They saw Mitchell stepping back, distancing himself, recorded on his own footage. They saw Kendra's fear, her tears, her bruised wrists captured from every angle in crystal clearer video. The audio was devastating, played through the courtroom sound system. Every word was crystal clear. Brennan's threat, "We can do this the hard way." Kendra's desperate assertion, "I'm an American citizen." The click of handcuffs, the suppressed sobs during the drive. When the footage ended, the courtroom remained silent for a full 30 seconds. Several jurors were crying. Kendra testified for 4 hours, walking the jury through every moment of that morning. The exhaustion after her overnight shift, the terror when she saw the agents approaching in the bright morning light, the humiliation of being handcuffed in front of her colleagues in broad daylight with dozens of witnesses, the cold fear of detention. Her voice shook, but she didn't break. She wanted the jury to understand not just what had happened, but what it felt like to be treated like a criminal in your own country. Brennan's testimony was catastrophic. Under cross-examination, Reeves systematically dismantled every justification he offered. "You said you had reasonable suspicion. What was it?" The anonymous tip mentioned the hospital, but it didn't mention Ms. Williams by name, did it? No. It didn't provide a description of any specific individual. No. So, what made you approach Ms. Williams specifically? Silence captured by the courtroom's recording system. "Agent Brennan, I'll ask again, what made you single out Ms. Williams from all the people leaving that hospital?" She matched a profile. "What profile?" More silence. "Agent Brennan, the body camera footage shows dozens of people leaving that hospital during your operation. People of various races, ages, and genders. But you only stopped Ms. Williams. Why? Brennan's voice was barely audible. I thought she looked suspicious. Looked suspicious? How? Be specific. I can't. I don't know. It was instinct. Instinct based on what? Her race? No. Then what? Her scrubs? Her hospital ID? The fact that she was walking to her car? What about Ms. Williams was suspicious? Brennan had no answer. The prosecution called expert witnesses who explained how implicit bias affects law enforcement decisions, how racial profiling operates, and how the Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable search and seizure. The defense tried to argue that IC agents operate under difficult circumstances and sometimes make honest mistakes. Reeves destroyed that argument in his closing. Honest mistakes are forgiven, he told the jury. But this wasn't an honest mistake. Agent Brennan saw a black woman and assumed she was undocumented. He ignored her hospital ID. He dismissed her assertion of citizenship. He arrested her without probable cause and detained her for hours despite having no evidence. That's not a mistake. That's racial profiling, and it violated Ms. Williams's constitutional rights. The jury deliberated for 3 days. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous on all counts. The damages phase took another week. The jury heard testimony about Kendra's emotional trauma, her nightmares, her fear of leaving her house, her inability to return to work at the hospital where she'd been arrested. They heard from her psychologist about her diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. They heard from her mother about watching her daughter, a third-generation American treated like a criminal. When the jury announced the damages, the courtroom erupted. $8 million in compensatory damages for emotional distress, lost wages, medical expenses, and violation of constitutional rights, $6.8 million in punitive damages, specifically calculated to send a message to IC and other federal agencies. Total $14.8 million. Kendra broke down crying, surrounded by her family. Reeves stood quietly watching the jury, these 12 ordinary citizens who had looked at the evidence and decided that racial profiling would not be tolerated even when committed by federal agents. Brennan was terminated within hours of the verdict. Rodriguez, Chin, and Mitchell were suspended pending review. Rodriguez eventually resigned, unable to continue in law enforcement after being part of such a visible civil rights violation. Chen and Mitchell were reassigned to desk positions, their field careers effectively over. The Department of Homeland Security announced comprehensive reforms, mandatory implicit bias training for all IC agents, stricter protocols requiring citizenship verification before any arrest, independent review of all immigration detentions, and a new policy requiring body camera footage to be preserved for a minimum of 5 years, in any case involving a disputed arrest. Kendra used part of her settlement to establish the Williams Civil Rights Legal Fund, providing free legal representation to others wrongfully detained by immigration authorities. She became a powerful advocate for reform, testifying before Congress, speaking at universities, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. The body camera footage became a teaching tool in law schools and police me's. A stark example of how racial bias can lead to civil rights violations and how technology can provide irrefutable evidence of misconduct. And in IC offices across the country, the case of Kendra Williams became legend, a cautionary tale about the consequences of racial profiling, told in training sessions and whispered in hallways. A reminder that body cameras cut both ways, protecting good agents but exposing those who abuse their authority. 4 cameras for perspectives. One undeniable truth. Racial profiling is illegal, expensive, and captured in high definition. If you believe that citizenship should be verified before arrest, that racial profiling has no place in law enforcement, and that justice requires holding powerful institutions accountable, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Tomorrow we have another story of courage and accountability that you won't want to miss. Because the truth, when recorded from 4 different angles and proven beyond any doubt, has the power to change not just individual lives, but entire systems of.
We appreciate you tuning in. If this breakdown helped you understand the situation better, remember to like, share, and subscribe to Justice Insight Cam. Stay aware, stay protected, and we will see you next time.